Today's workshop is working with Kent Healthy Schools specialists in providing training in financial capability, both primary and secondary, and also linking to a price of parenting resource which combats relationships, sex education and links to financial capability. The idea being that through training the specialists who work with the schools, it'll then be imparted into the schools and the schools will be able to deliver that to the students.
I came to the training today because PSHE is one of our core themes that we develop for teachers around in our Healthy Schools schemes. And financial capability is one of the things I'm not very confident on, or haven't been very confident on, so I really wanted to make sure I could develop my skills further and support the teachers more. The
one question that teachers will always ask at primary and secondary is, what should I be delivering? And it's incredibly hard because there's nothing statutory saying this must be delivered. There are different forms of guidance, but there's nothing set in stone. And the one thing that I always suggest is the first place to start is to have a think themselves as to what they think an 11-year-old, because we're doing primary at the moment, an 11-year-old child ought to know. And I thought it'd be quite useful to go round and you do a little mind map here of what you think an 11-year-old child ought to know around money and personal finance. Today's workshop has 3 constituent parts. The first is a primary financial capability toolkit, which has all of the advice and guidance to be able to impart that knowledge onto schools.
A basic budgeting really, and managing money.
Yes.
And how to get money, I suppose, how to earn it.
Definitely. Where does money come from? There's a report called Money on Our Minds, which is, it was a student voice report that was done in the southeast of England, and some of the children were saying that when mum or dad goes to the supermarket, they pay him money, or her money. It's not, it's cash back, but you don't get paid by Tesco's to take away £100 worth of their shopping. But these are misconceptions. If you see it from a 4 or 5-year-old's perspective, that's what's happening.
I really like the mapping exercises and the audit tools which we can help schools kind of develop where they feel they're at.
The second component is a secondary financial capability toolkit which does exactly the same thing but at a secondary level. I've got another example of an activity which kind of crosses the board, and I think some of you may have seen this one before because this is a favourite of mine that I use with teachers a lot. So in your pack of cards you've got nine job cards. What I would like you to do, the reason I like this activity is because it's completely cross-curricular and you can link it into many different areas. What I'd like you to do with those cards, though, is put them into an order of how important that role is to society.
I enjoyed well, everything really that was in the workshop today, especially I think linking all sort of the activities and the suggested activities that we got out of it back into sort of wider curriculum, because that's a bit that I think schools will listen to.
The teachers want to learn, they want to learn about all the activities that they can deliver within a lesson, for them to be interactive. And what I also like about is the fact that when you learn about this, you think about your own personal finances, and when you have that emotional link to an activity, you are more likely to learn.
The third component is a price of parenting resource, which looks at the cost of becoming a parent as well as the attributes and communication skills that you would need to be a parent. There is a separate challenge, and it says you soon realise that babies need a lot of equipment. You have 2 minutes to list all the things you might need in the first few months. Families with the most relevant items will gain more happiness points. And then it says take your list to the supermarket. Well, that will be the teacher or the teaching assistant or whoever is there. So let's have a go. As many things as you can in 2 minutes that you might need in the first 2 months.
I think the price of parenting is a really good resource for schools to use. We're very keen on telling teenagers that they shouldn't become teenage parents because it will stop their education and all the negative things, but for them to actually sit down and look at the impact, the very real impact that will have on their lives and the cost of the things, the costs that children take up, and have a look at the impact that's going to have on their own wants, I think is a much better way of doing it, and much more realistic way of helping them to look at their own lives and the decisions they're making.
So what do we think then in terms of cost? Unless you saw it on the screen. Any ideas?
I said £2,000.
£2,000. Okay.
About £2,000.
I've got 1,000 because
£2,000, 1,000.
300 quid.
excuse me. I've got 1,000.
I've got sleep down here and that's priceless.
Yes. The Train the Trainer model works in a seminar like today, where we're disseminating information, skills, knowledge to a relatively small group of people who are then working with a wide variety of schools, both primary and secondary, holding their own training sessions or working individually with those schools, and in doing so passing on that information far further than you could possibly offer in one training event.
Yeah, I mean, picking up on the sort of what we've gone through today, we'll be going out to sort of the sort of secondary schools that I cover, and basically trying to raise awareness of them that, you know, this is a resource that's there, that's out there. Hopefully putting on events then that will sort of support them, not just to sort of pick up the resource, but at least see, one, the importance of it. You know, there's no point just giving a resource without having some sort of element of training behind that and support behind that.
Following on from today's workshop, I've already got a PSHE Good Practice Network meeting planned to cascade this to my secondary school teachers. So we'll look at the price of parenting and also a little bit around other secondary resources that they can use. So when we've done that, then we'll probably take that out into individual schools and offer it on an individual basis, so that we can work with groups of teachers within those secondary schools and looking at cross-curricular links. And with the primary stuff that we've done today, I will offer that out to the primary PSHE networks, and then offer it into individual schools if they want it.
We've got tools to map financial capability within PSHE, with maths, with other curricula. So I think those tools will help schools a lot in delivering financial capability.